The Mario series is a phenomenon. 6 out of the 50 best-selling games of all times are 2D Mario games. The Super Mario franchise is the most successful video game franchise of all time. Mario is unbelievably successful. But why? Honestly, why is the Super Mario franchise so popular? At first glance, Mario isn't the coolest thing imaginable. At its core, it's a series about an Italian plumber whose crush happens to be a princess that gets kidnapped by a gigantic turtle a lot. If I told you about this concept back in 1985, would you have thought that that's the holy grail of video gaming? That this concept will continue to sell in the millions for many, many games and will just never get old, even though the gameplay remains mostly unchanged? Yeah, me neither, yet here we are, which leaves us with a question. Why? Why are 2D Mario games still as popular as they were 30 years ago? How did the Mario franchise not lose its magic along the way, like so many other franchises did? So in this video, we're going to investigate this question. We're going to take a look at the first level of each 2D Mario game as a stand-in for the whole game. We'll first take a look back at over 3 decades of Mario history, and afterwards we'll try to find an answer to the question: how Nintendo managed to keep the Mario games interesting over such a long time. So you ready? Let's do this! The first Mario level is 1-1 in the original Super Mario Bros. So it's the very first game in the Mario series. It's 1985. We are on a very limited hardware, and almost everything that defines the Mario series is already here. There are Goombas, there are power-ups that make Mario magically grow in size, there are fire flowers, there are brick blocks that can only be destroyed as Big Mario. There is a hidden block containing a 1-up, there is a brick block containing a star that already works in the same way it's going to work for the next decades. There is already a pipe that takes Mario into a sub-area, and the whole game already follows a grid-like structure. So what do I mean by grid-like structure? See, in Mario games, most things are measured in the size of a brick block. Mario is 1 brick block high, so are Goombas. If Mario eats a mushroom, he becomes 2 blocks high. The mushroom is 1 block in height and width, so is the star. Bottomless pits follow the structure, and so do most enemies Mario encounters on his journey. But the thing that is really interesting about this grid-like structure is that Mario's jumping and movement physics are tied to it as well. Without running, Mario is able to jump for exactly 4 blocks. With running, it's 10. Mario is able to jump 4 blocks high without running, which turns into 5 blocks as soon as we start to run. Mario only falls off of a block as soon as his entire body is on the next grid space, and so on. This grid-like structure is incredibly powerful because it allows players to judge if they're able to make jumps in an instant, and this makes the platforming much easier to predict. It's so useful that even modern games like 3D World still follow it to some degree. But there is a lot more already going on here. The design of the stage and the game as a whole is incredibly effective and far ahead of its time. The famous Goomba below a question block setup, for example, is such an effective way to teach a lot of core Mario ideas in an instant that we will see the exact same setup repeated in the upcoming Mario games over and over and over again, up to the present day. It's impossible to discuss the importance and brilliance of the single game in its entirety here. There's just too much going on. But if we truly want to understand how the Mario series managed to stay so popular over such a long time, then we have to acknowledge how ridiculously good the design of the first Super Mario game is, considering it was released in 1985. The design of this game is just so ahead of its time that the series simply started with an insane head start. Alright, so that's the very first Mario level in the very first Mario game. And the game was a gigantic success. Now the big question arises how Nintendo is going to follow up this game. And the answer is, well, complicated. There is not one second game in the Super Mario series, but 2. Super Mario Bros. 2 and Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. So a super quick summary of what happened. After the enormous success of the first game, Nintendo immediately set out to create a sequel, which was released only a year later in Japan, The Lost Levels. So The Lost Levels is an interesting game. It almost plays like a Super Mario Bros. ROM hack. It's basically the first game again, but much more difficult. We can see this already in the first level. Early in the first stage, there is this setup. Everyone who played the first game will expect a mushroom to be hidden in one of those blocks. And as it turns out, there is one. But this mushroom is no ordinary mushroom, but a disgusting killer power-up. If Mario eats this shroom, he takes damage. The real power-up in the first area is much harder to obtain. It requires our plumber to bump his head against brick blocks at the right moment to make the real mushroom reachable. The whole game is like this. There are some new things in the game, most notable, Luigi gets his unique traits here, the higher jumps and slippery physics, but overall it's more of the first game, but harder. So I'm pretty sure that there are a couple of wonderful ladies and gentlemen among the people watching this that never heard about the lost levels before. The reason why I suspect this is because the game wasn't originally released in America. America got Super Mario Bros. 2 instead. So Super Mario Bros. 2 is another weird story. Basically, Mario Bros. 2 is a reskin of a Japanese game called Doki Doki Panic that was a Mario-inspired platformer. The incredibly punishing and difficult game Lost Levels wasn't really a good fit for the Western market, so Nintendo looked for an alternative sequel and found it with Doki Doki Panic. The game got a reskin and was released as Super Mario Bros. 2 in America and Europe. And the Western sequel was a huge success. If we take a look at the first level, we can see that a lot of stuff is different to what we've seen so far. First, there is the option to play as one out of 4 different characters: Mario, Luigi, Toad or Peach. The game starts not horizontally, but vertically. Verticality is something that wasn't really explored in Mario games up to this point. But not only does the game feature verticality, but it suddenly is actually possible to go back, something not present in the first 2 games. Shy Guys debut here, so does Birdo as a mini-boss at the end of the very first level, which means that Birdo's debut was long before Yoshi appeared for the first time. As a side note, there are secret paths through the stage and our 4 heroes are able to pick up enemies and to throw them for the first time. Super Mario Bros. 2 ended up being quite successful. Nonetheless, it was a weird and quite unexpected turn in Mario's history. It was never meant to be a real Mario game, but the game ended up being so successful that it eventually even was released in Japan under the name Super Mario USA. Although the game never was meant to develop the Mario series, it definitely proved to be incredibly influential for the whole franchise. Bob Omps, Shy Guys, 4 playable characters and Birdo are all elements already present in the first level here that are staples in the Mario series today. Okay, so those were the really chaotic early years in Mario's life, but let's be honest, whose first years in this world weren't chaotic and a bit weird at times? The next Mario game released is Super Mario Bros. 3. So whenever I replay Super Mario Bros. 3 on a Wii U Virtual Console, I tend to forget that this game wasn't released on the Super Nintendo, but is still an NES title. The game would be quite impressive in my opinion, even if it were an early Super Nintendo game. But that Super Mario Bros. 3 was still released on the NES always blows my mind. The game is a straight upgrade of everything we've seen so far. There are tons of levels spread over 8 worlds. There is a new world map, there are tons of new gameplay elements, tons of new power-ups, much more graphical variation. The level design is as brilliant as is to be expected from a Mario game, and so on. We can see how incredibly the game improved already in the first stage. The first level features a huge amount of variation and different paths through the stage. There are Goombas, Piranha Plants, Koopas, Flying Koopas, fire-spitting plants and more. There is the new Tanuki power-up that gives Mario insane air movement. The stage features a lot of verticality. There is actually a completely optional path at the top. There are tons of secrets for multiple playthroughs, like the really well-hidden secret pipe or the really strange white platform ducking secret, and much more. At this point we are only 4 games in, we are still on the NES and the Mario series is already incredibly refined. The main 2D Mario gameplay is already developed. Needless to say, Mario's final game on the NES was another huge success. The next Mario game that Nintendo released was Super Mario Land, only 1 year after Super Mario Bros. 3. When we take a look at the first level of Mario Land, then everything looks like a normal Mario game. There are Goombas, question blocks, normal power-ups, Koopas, blocks and pipes. The only new things shown here are a couple of new enemies and the background theme is something we haven't seen so far. But other than that, it's just normal Mario gameplay as we know it. And I can't stress enough how unbelievable that was at this time. It was normal Mario gameplay, but it was on a handheld. This game is the first portable Mario game, and not only is it a portable Mario game, but it's a really good Mario game on the original Game Boy in all its brick-shaped glory. Super Mario Land was the first Mario game I ever played as a kid, and I loved the game up until this day. There are some noticeable shortcomings which probably happened because the original Game Boy, well, wasn't a supercomputer by any means. The physics, for example, are a slight downgrade from Super Mario Bros. 3, at least in my opinion, and there are significantly less gameplay variations to toy around, but the fact that they managed to create classic fun Mario gameplay on the Game Boy before Super Mario World was even released still blows my mind up until this day. And then 1 year later, Super Mario World actually was released. Super Mario World was once again a great improvement, and once again it already shows in the very first level. Or to be precise, rather in the lack of a first level. There is no first stage in the game. Mario starts on the world map and it is up for the player to decide whether to beat the level to the right or the one to the left first. This already highlights that there are now many different paths through the world map and that players suddenly have much more freedom in how they explore the game. Both first levels showcase a lot of the new stuff in this game pretty well. The biggest new change is probably Mario's advanced moveset. Mario learned a whole new jumping technique, the spin jump, which adds a lot of complexity to the platforming. But not only did Mario use the time in between games to learn how to spin like a pro, but he also learned how to throw enemies upwards, befriended a dinosaur, discovered checkpoints and learned how to store a yum yum mushroom in his pockets for later use. But what is most interesting to me here is that in these first levels Nintendo did something that is actually typical for them. They didn't reinvent the Mario series, but they just used the new, much more powerful hardware to improve on previous ideas and to explore new ones. It's different, but the same. The game got a new graphic style, but still looks similar to the previous games. The physics are different, but everything is still measured in grid tiles and predictable. There is a power-up that gives Mario insane air movement, the Cave Feather, but it controls and plays completely different than in Super Mario Bros. 3. There are tons of new gameplay elements, but the ones that worked best in the previous games make a return, often with a unique twist to them, like the gigantic bullet bills. Super Mario World is the result of 5 years in which Mario constantly got better and better with every entry. The real question is how Nintendo tried to top this phenomenal game. And the answer is they didn't even try, but I'm getting ahead of myself. First they tried to refine how 2D Mario plays on a handheld. 2 years after Mario World, Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins was released on the original Game Boy. The game marks Mario's second appearance on a handheld and is a straight improvement over Mario Land 1. Comparing both first levels should make this apparent immediately. The sequel looks better, controls better, has far more variation in gameplay, Koopas can finally be picked up, and most importantly, they stopped to explode when they came in contact with a plumber, and Mario finally learned how to spin jump on a handheld. I think it's quite impressive that they were able to build this game on the original Game Boy. But not only does Mario Land 2 improve everything that was present in the first game, but it also tried out a new approach for the Mario series as a whole. The game is non-linear. Basically all worlds are accessible from the beginning, and each player gets to choose in which order they tackle the many challenges the game offers. Okay, so at this point, the Super Mario series is only 7 years old and has already seen 7 highly successful games. All of the games were critically acclaimed, all of them sold pretty good. 4 out of those 7 games are actually up until today on the list of the 50 best-selling video games of all times. In 1992, Nintendo had basically hit a gold mine. And then they did something really interesting. They didn't publish a single new 2D Mario game for 14 years. So in the middle of the 90s, the 2D gaming era came to an abrupt end with the release of the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation 1. Those home consoles were the first ones that were realistically capable of rendering games in glorious 3D. That was a huge deal. Tons of franchises tried to make the switch from 2D to 3D. 2D games just weren't that interesting anymore, since tons of people wanted to finally play their favorite games in 3D. This time is a pretty interesting one for gaming as a whole. It's a time where a lot of new franchises became a thing, while other franchises that weren't able to make the transition slowly died. Nintendo and Mario obviously managed to make this transition gracefully with Mario 64, but when Nintendo clearly put a lot of effort into the 3D Mario games, they also stopped to develop new 2D Mario games entirely. The home consoles got 3D Marios and the handhelds got remastered versions of the old NES and Super Nintendo classics, but no new game was developed for 14 long years, even though all games up until this point were huge successes. I honestly can't imagine a new 2D Mario platformer on, let's say, the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy Advance would have been a commercial failure. But Nintendo still decided not to do so. We'll come back to speculate a bit on why this is at the end of the video. But what matters for the moment is that there wasn't a single new Mario game for almost 15 years. It's only in 2006 that the next 2D game is released, New Super Mario Bros. On the Nintendo DS, and the game was a tremendous success. The first level of New Super Mario Bros. Is really interesting. setting. It's the first time we get to platform through a new 1-1 in over a decade in which insane hardware improvements were made. So the way Nintendo decided to begin New Super Mario Bros. Was by just building a very traditional 1-1 stage, with not much new stuff going on in the level. But then, halfway through the stage, Mario finds a gigantic mushroom and ends up completely demolishing this traditional 1-1 setting. In my opinion, that's a really wonderful way to restart the Mario series after this long break. The game didn't do much new or anything revolutionary, it's just a straight reimagining of the old classic Mario games on much better hardware. It continued where the series ended 14 years before and explores new ideas. Ideas like completely demolishing the first level. The game was a triumphant return of the 2D Mario series on handhelds, and 3 years later, the series returned to the home consoles as well, with the release of New Super Mario Bros. Wii. New Super Mario Bros. Wii is 2D Mario perfection. The first level of New Super Mario Bros. Wii beautifully shows what made this game so delightful. Everything that defines the Mario series is present here, but everything is just a little bit better than before. It looks better than ever before while maintaining the classic Mario charm. There are the series must-haves like Goombas and Koopas, but there are new twists as well. In 1-1 there is for example a rotating floor. There is a crazy new air movement power-up, the propeller suit. The level is filled with more small secrets than any other first level so far. The sub-areas below pipes return, but Mario's movement physics are changed and are, at least in my opinion, much more fluid than in the previous games, while still following the grid-like structure from the very first Super Mario game. It features everything that made the old games so great, but improves them in almost every aspect. In a certain way, Mario Bros. Wii is the best 2D Mario game ever made. It managed to bring the classic Mario gameplay to perfection while still providing a lot of new stuff. The third game in the New Super Mario Bros. Series is New Super Mario Bros. 2. There isn't much to say about the game in my opinion. It's New Super Mario Bros. Again, but this time with coins to keep everything fresh. The first level already shows how crazy they decided to go with the all about coins concept. There is this hidden golden head replacement power-up thingy, not once but actually twice, hidden in the first stage, that makes Mario's head spit out evil coins whenever he does anything. The game really succeeds in differentiating itself from the first DS and the Wii game by being all about coins. And while it isn't the most spectacular Mario game ever made, whenever I play through it, I end up having a blast. So there is one more game for us to take a look at. But before we discuss the first level of New Super Mario Bros. U, let's come back to the question from the beginning. So, how was Nintendo able to keep the 2D Mario series interesting for such a long time? The reason why we took a look at the history of 2D Mario games is, well, mainly it's because I thought it's fun, but partly it's also because the success of the Mario series, at least in my opinion, can't be understood by taking a look at the games itself, but only if we consider the context in which those games were released. In a certain way, all of those games are really similar to each other. They all feature the exact same gameplay as the original Super Mario Bros. No game really revolutionized the series. We took a look at the first levels to make this visible. They all feature similar enemies, similar power-ups, take place in a similar setting as the very first game already did, feature similar gameplay, and so on. We discussed the first levels, but we could have also picked any other thing, like how underwater levels evolved or how castle stages changed over time, and we would have seen something similar. All the games are, in a way, just a reinterpretation of the very first 2D Mario game. It's really baffling how little the core elements of the series changed compared to where it started 30 years ago. The answer to why those games stayed relevant isn't hidden in the games itself. I believe it's hidden within the circumstances under which those games were released. None of those numerous 2D platformers is just another Mario game. They all have a reason to exist apart from just being a sequel. This may sound strange and even a little bit contradictory, but let me explain what I mean. The first game established the series. The two second entries were much awaited sequels to a tremendously successful game. The third game pushed the hardware of the NES to its limit and improved everything seen so far. Mario Land was the first time classic Mario gameplay was playable on a handheld. Mario World brought the Mario series onto the Super Nintendo and used a much better hardware to great success. 6 golden coins tremendously improved the Mario experience on a handheld and managed to diverge very far from the classic Mario gameplay. New Super Mario Bros. And New Super Mario Bros. Wii brought Mario back to home consoles and handhelds after a very long time. And New Super Mario Bros. 2 Well, that one is a bit of an outlier, but at least it explored new ideas with its focus on coins. None of those games are just a sequel for the sake of a sequel. Rather, they are all standout games of their day, reinterpreting the great basic concept of the first game, and by that reflecting the spirit of the times in which they were released. They either were able to explore ideas that could previously not be realized due to hardware limitations, or managed to be a classic Mario experience in a new context, like being portable. I believe Nintendo didn't push new Mario games on the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy Advance because there wasn't much new the series could have done at that time. It just would have been, I don't know, Mario Land 3, 4, 5, 6, games that probably would have been fun, but wouldn't have been able to do anything new. I believe one of the reasons why Mario games stayed relevant is because Nintendo never just made a new 2D Mario game for the sake of itself. Which finally leads us to New Super Mario Bros. U, a game I'm a bit conflicted about. To a certain degree, I think New Super Mario Bros. U is the best 2D Mario game ever made. But to a certain degree, I also kinda wish the game had never been made in the first place. Let's take one final look at the first level to see what I mean. It's once again a colorful grass theme. There is once again a new air power-up, this time the acorn suit. There are the same types of secrets as in the Wii game, the same type of enemies, Mario controls almost the same. We have the same sub-areas featuring similar graphics as in the Wii game. Even the unique twist of moving ground is repeated here. In the Wii version, the ground rotates, here it shifts. It's the same game as New Super Mario Bros. Wii, just slightly better, which is why I'm so conflicted about it. Almost everything is executed a bit better than in the Wii game, which already was Mario at its perfection in my opinion. So we have an even better Mario game here. But on the other hand, it's the first time in Mario's 30-year-long history that Nintendo recycled the game. There is no real new twist in New Super Mario Bros. U. The game is just a new Mario game for the sake of itself. It's really weird, but if we just look at Mario games without any context, then I'd say that New Super Mario Bros. U is the best Mario game ever made. But the fact that Mario Wii exists, which is so similar, just makes Mario U less special, at least to me. The Mario series itself never really evolved far away from where it started, but Nintendo was incredibly careful only to make new 2D Mario games when there was a reason to do so. There is obviously not a singular reason as to why those games managed to stay relevant for such a long time. Another reason is that all of them are just really good games. But I believe that at least part of this puzzle is that each 2D Mario game, despite the same old setup, was able to give the player a whole new gaming experience, and that Nintendo only decided to make those games when it actually made sense for a new Mario game to exist. And with that being said, thanks for watching this little video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up and maybe feel especially 1-1 today and want to hit the subscribe button as well. I hope that all of you have a wonderful day and to see you soon. Goodbye!